The collective security forces marched Elena through pristine white corridors, their crystalline exoskeletons catching the light with each synchronized step. Other researchers averted their eyes as she passed. A colleague disappearing meant questions, and questions meant scrutiny no one could afford. Specimen E-437 has been corrupted, announced the lead officer, a towering Meridan with 6 manipulator arms. The council will determine appropriate processing. Elena kept her expression neutral despite the pounding in her chest. The memory protection capsule was already working, creating a partition in her mind. They would find only what she wanted them to see, a neurobiologist with unconventional theories but no concrete evidence. The interrogation chamber featured a single chair surrounded by scanning equipment. Elena recognized the neural probes designed to strip memories layer by layer. She had helped design the initial prototypes, after all. "You understand what happens next," said Supervisory Director Xel, his translucent skin revealing the complex circulatory system beneath. "Resistance only increases discomfort." "I was studying neural efficiency," Elena replied evenly. "Nothing more." "Interesting." Xel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your work was specifically on comparative sleep patterns. Why were you examining the imagination centers?" Elena had prepared for this. Cross-correlation. Human brains reorganize during sleep cycles. I was tracking pattern emergence. Xel's feeding tendrils twitched with suspicion. "You accessed restricted evolutionary data required for baseline comparisons." Elena met his gaze. "Unless the collective has something to hide about human neurology." A dangerous gambit, but calculated. Accusing the collective directly would trigger immediate suspicion. Feigning scientific curiosity placed the burden of overreaction on them. Xel gestured, and a holographic display activated. Elena's research data appeared, carefully censored. "Your findings show nothing of consequence, yet you concealed your work." "Academic competition," Elena shrugged. "Dr. Van has taken credit for my discoveries before." As Xel deliberated, Elena focused on her breathing. The chip in her wrist contained everything: the neural suppression patterns, the systematic diminishment of human potential, and most importantly, how to reverse it. 100 years of oppression explained in quantum encrypted data. Restricted laboratory access for 30 cycles. Xel finally announced. Full supervision during research hours. Elena struggled to hide her relief. A reprimand, not processing. They hadn't found anything significant in their initial scan. As guards escorted her to her quarters, Elena noticed the slight weight of a data chip slipped into her pocket during the examination. Someone else in the facility was helping her. In her Spartan room, door locked behind her, Elena examined the chip under her thin mattress. It contained one message: tomorrow. Maintenance level B, second shift change. The awakening begins. Elena closed her eyes, heart racing. Her discovery wasn't just scientific curiosity, it was revolution. Humans weren't simply exploited labor to the collective. They were potential rivals intentionally hobbled. The neural inhibitors suppressed not just imagination, but the very spark that made humanity unique in the galaxy. She looked at her small window, Earth hanging like a blue jewel in the black. A century of servitude had dimmed humanity's light, their greatest minds reduced to solving problems within collective-approved parameters. Tomorrow, that would change. Tomorrow, the first domino would fall. Elena smiled as she carefully destroyed the message. The collective had no idea what they had created in their perfect, controlled hierarchy. The seeds of their own destruction. Humanity was about to remember what it meant to dream without limits. Elena stood at the observation deck's edge, watching the Horizon vessel prepare for its historic departure. 6 months had transformed the galaxy beyond recognition. The neural liberation had cascaded through collective systems, awakening suppressed minds across thousands of worlds. What might have descended into chaos instead blossomed into unprecedented cooperation, species sharing their unique perspectives to solve problems impossible for any single cognitive approach. "You still miss him," Zethval observed, joining her at the viewport. The former collective commander now served as liaison between previously antagonistic species, his hybrid heritage a bridge between worlds. Every day, Elena acknowledged, thinking of Marcus. He should be here to see this. In many ways, he is, Zethval replied. The quantum key he created forms the basis of our new communication network. His pattern lives on in every transmission. Their shared mental interface during the liberation had left a permanent connection between them, not a full telepathic bond, but an empathic awareness that made their collaboration uniquely effective. Both had glimpsed the other's complete consciousness, creating understanding impossible to achieve through conventional means. Below them in the Grand Assembly Chamber, final preparations were underway for the Horizon's launch ceremony. Representatives from over 2,000 species gathered, many meeting face-to-face for the first time after centuries of collective-imposed isolation. The predecessors left us more than just genetic fail-safes, Elena said, returning to the ancient architect's final revelation. They left coordinates. The information extracted from the transformed collective consciousness had revealed a startling truth. The energy beings who had engineered humanity had departed toward the galactic core, leaving subtle markers for civilizations that achieved true cognitive freedom to follow. Do you believe they're still out there? Zethval asked. I don't know, Elena admitted, but the Horizon will find out. The exploration vessel represented a technological marvel, designed collaboratively by dozens of species, incorporating cognitive approaches and scientific principles that complemented rather than competed. Its mission would take it toward the coordinates left by the predecessors, carrying representatives from every willing world. Admiral Sorensen, his once dark hair now streaked with silver, approached them. They're ready for you, Dr. Reyes. Elena smiled at the formality. Just Elena, Kai. We've earned the right to first names. As they entered the assembly chamber, conversation quieted. Elena had never grown comfortable with the reverence many showed her, but she understood its source. To many, she symbolized the moment oppression ended. The Cosmic Assembly calls its first official gathering to order, announced the elected speaker, a lithoid elder whose crystalline form refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. Elena took her place at the circular table where no species held position of prominence. The physical configuration itself reflected their new philosophy, connection rather than hierarchy. Today we launch not just a vessel, but a quest, Elena addressed the gathering. The Horizon carries our shared questions. Who were the predecessors? Why did they create us as we are? What happens when truly free minds reach beyond the boundaries that once contained them? As she spoke, the Horizon's engines ignited, not with destructive fire, but with a controlled gravitational pulse that bent space itself, a technology only possible through the combined insights of multiple species. The universe is vast, far larger than the prison the collective made of our corner of it. Elena continued. But our greatest journey isn't outward through space. It's inward, through connection. She reached for Zethval's hand, a gesture once unimaginable between their kinds. We were engineered to end an empire. That task is complete. Now we choose our own purpose, to build something better in its place. On the main display, the Horizon slipped its moorings, accelerating gracefully toward distant stars. Its hull gleamed with symbols from 1,000 worlds, united in common purpose. The rebellion had ended. The awakening had just begun. It's like seeing color for the first time, Ria whispered, her fingers dancing across the salvaged collective console. Impossibly complex alien code reconfigured itself under her touch, systems never meant to communicate suddenly working in harmony. Elena watched in amazement. The neural inhibitor removal had worked beyond her wildest expectations. What are you seeing? Patterns within patterns, Ria replied, eyes never leaving the display. Their technology isn't advanced because it's alien. It's advanced because they've stolen innovations from 1,000 species and layered them together. But they never truly understood how the pieces connect. Marcus leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the console's glow. Can you access their security systems? Already have. Rhea grinned. And something better. Their ships communicate through quantum entanglement. I can see the pathways, listen to them without being detected. Dax, the Vexari defector, made a sound of disbelief. His blue skin flushed darker. Impossible. The entanglement network requires biological authentication. Not anymore, Rhea said simply. Elena felt a surge of hope. Their small resistance group occupied the lowest levels of an abandoned mining facility on Mars Colony, scraping by on stolen supplies and salvage technology. With access to collective communications, they could finally move from survival to strategy. How long before they realize we've tapped in? Marcus asked. They won't, Rhea replied. To them, it will look like system noise, normal fluctuations. That night, as the others celebrated this breakthrough, Elena found Dax alone on an observation platform, staring at the rust-colored Martian landscape stretching to the horizon. Why did you really help me escape? Elena asked, joining him at the railing. Dax's multifaceted eyes reflected the setting sun. The Vexari were artisans once, creators of living architecture and music that could heal minds. The collective took that from us generations ago. He hesitated. Now we're their enforcers, their loyal servants. Most of my people don't even remember what we lost. But you do, Elena said softly. I found old records. Forbidden histories. Dax's voice lowered. My grandmother preserved them, risked everything to show me. When I saw your research, I recognized the pattern. What they did to us, they're doing to humans. Before Elena could respond, Marcus burst onto the platform. We just intercepted a transmission. The collective is bringing in a harvester fleet. They're accelerating resource extraction from Earth. Why now? Elena asked. Because they're building something massive in the Oort cloud, Marcus replied grimly. And they need human labor to complete it. A suppressor array, Dax said, his voice hollow. They built one around my homeworld after the last resistance attempt. Once activated, it amplifies neural inhibition across an entire planet. No more individual implants needed. The implication hit Elena like a physical blow. They're planning to permanently suppress humanity's cognitive potential, not just control it, eliminate it entirely. Marcus's jaw tightened. How long do we have? 3 months, Dax answered. Perhaps 4. Elena looked at their small base, their handful of freed humans, their meager resources. We need more people, more awakened minds. We'll need a ship, Marcus added, a way to intercept the human transports before they reach Earth. Rhea appeared in the doorway, her expression electric with possibility. I think I know how to get both. The collective maintenance depot on Phobos is running with a skeleton crew. Their patrol schedule has gaps I can predict through the entanglement network. It's too risky, Marcus argued. We're not ready for direct confrontation. Elena thought of the billions on Earth, unaware they were about to lose not just their freedom, but their very potential forever. We don't have a choice, she said quietly. If that suppressor array comes online, there won't be anything left of humanity worth saving. In the silence that followed, their impossible mission took shape. 4 rebels against the might of the collective. The beginning of humanity's awakening, or its final chapter. Archon Zeth Val stood motionless before the holographic display, analyzing the debris field that had once been his forward fleet. Not a single ship destroyed, but all disabled with surgical precision. The human rebels had targeted navigation, weapons, and life support systems, while deliberately preserving the crews. Play it again, he commanded. The tactical officer, a nervous Meridan, replayed the battle footage. Mining vessels, crude, repurposed industrial equipment, executing maneuvers that defied prediction algorithms. They moved in patterns that seemed chaotic until the moment they revealed themselves as devastatingly effective. Their attack pattern resembles no known tactical doctrine, observed his second-in-command. Because it isn't one, Zethval replied quietly. These are improvised strategies. They're creating them as they fight. The concept disturbed him deeply. The collective's military dominance relied on prediction, on knowing the enemy's moves before they made them. These humans were playing a different game entirely. On the Resistance flagship, a retrofitted collective cruiser now named Prometheus *, Elena watched the celebration with mixed emotions. Their victory had been complete, their strategy flawless. Admiral Sorensen had combined Earth's ancient naval warfare techniques with newly awakened humans' intuitive understanding of collective technology. "We should have destroyed them," said Rhea, now the Resistance's chief technology officer. "Disabled ships can be repaired, but crews can't be replaced," Elena countered. "Every collective citizen who returns home with a story of human mercy undermines their propaganda." Marcus joined them, his face showing the strain of leadership, but his eyes bright with purpose. "The psychological warfare is working. Our broadcast responses to Archon Zethval's messages have gone viral across 3 sectors. Underground networks are distributing them even on core collective worlds." "Any word from the Lithoid delegation?" Elena asked. "They're cautious," Marcus replied, "but impressed. The silicon-based minds think differently than ours. They plan in centuries, not moments. Our victory made them reconsider their timeline." An alert sounded, and Dax hurried over. "We've intercepted new orders from Collective High Command. They're deploying a thought harvester." The room fell silent. Thought harvesters were the stuff of Resistance nightmares, specialized collective units that could extract information directly from captured minds, leaving only shells behind. "Who's commanding it?" Sorensen asked grimly. "Inquisitor Nexcavra," Dax replied. "She's never failed to break a subject." Elena felt a chill. Their movement had grown beyond expectations, with cells now operating throughout the solar system. But they were still desperately vulnerable, their awakened minds valuable prizes for collective intelligence. "We need to accelerate our timeline," she decided. "The mission to Europa can't wait any longer." "The inhibitor removal equipment isn't ready for mass production," Marcus protested. "We can only process dozens at a time, not thousands." "Then we'll have to find another way," Elena said. She activated the ship's communication system. "Contact the Vesperi Hive ambassador. Ask if their empathic network can be adapted to amplify our inhibitor removal signal." As orders spread through the ship, preparations shifting to their most ambitious operation yet, Elena studied the star chart showing Earth and its colonies. Billions of her people remained unaware of their true potential, their greatest gift suppressed by collective technology. On his command ship, Archon Zethval made a decision of his own. He sealed his private quarters, disabled all monitoring devices, and accessed restricted historical archives. If conventional tactics couldn't predict these humans, perhaps their past could provide insight. The first file opened before him. Earth Military History, Unconventional Warfare. He began to read, unaware that understanding humanity would change him far more than he intended. The hidden asteroid base hummed with activity as representatives from 3 newly allied species toured the facilities. Elena observed their reactions from the command center's elevated platform. The crystalline lithoids moving with deliberate precision, the gossamer winged Vesperi communicating through subtle color changes, and the reptilian Krex ambassadors examining everything with unblinking yellow eyes. "They're impressed," Admiral Sorensen remarked, joining her at the railing. Though they'd never admit it. "We need more than impression," Elena replied. "We need commitment." Below them, Marcus led the delegation through the awakening chamber, where humans freed from neural suppression discovered their true potential. The process had been refined. What once took hours now completed in minutes, each awakened mind immediately contributing new insights to their cause. "The lithoids have agreed to provide stellar engineering expertise," Sorensen updated her. "They can manipulate gravitational fields around the Jupiter-Europa transit route, creating blind spots in collective detection systems. And the Vesperi. Their hive mind communication network is compatible with our transmission protocols. With their help, We can broadcast the neural inhibitor removal frequency to every human outpost simultaneously. Alina nodded. And the cracks. Sorensen's expression tightened. Still undecided, they suffered under collective rule longer than any of us. Their caution is understandable. A technician hurried over, her face flushed with excitement. Dr. Rice, the communication hub access codes are working. We're receiving collective transmissions from all sectors. Show me, Alina said, following her to a central console. The display filled with data streams, ship movements, resource allocations, security protocols. Among them, one file stood out: Human Cognitive Limitation Protocol, Phase 2 Implementation. They're accelerating the suppressor array construction, Alina realized, scanning the details. Completion estimated within 60 days. Across the command center, Dax received an urgent communication from his Vexari contacts. Arkshan Zethal's fleet is mobilizing, he announced. They've developed new tactical simulations specifically designed to counter our previous strategies. He's learning, Sorensen mused. Adapting. So will we, Alina replied. She turned to the representatives gathered below. The time for caution has passed. The collective is constructing a weapon that will permanently suppress not just human cognitive potential, but eventually that of all species they deem threats. We need your full commitment now. The Krex ambassador, a scared veteran of previous failed rebellions, stepped forward. You speak of cooperation, yet humans lead every critical mission. How do we know you won't become the next collective once victory is achieved? A tense silence fell over the command center. The question voiced fears that had quietly circulated among their allies. Because we remember what it means to be suppressed, Alina answered simply. And because victory isn't replacing one empire with another. It's ensuring no species ever controls another again. She activated the central holographic display, revealing their most audacious plan yet. Operation Nova Dawn. A simultaneous strike against 3 collective strongholds, each mission led by a different species, united by common purpose. The display showed assault teams composed of mixed species, each leveraging their unique abilities in coordination rather than hierarchy. We don't seek to rule, Alina continued. We seek to connect. Humans' greatest strength isn't our technology or tactics. It's our ability to build bridges between radically different minds. As the representatives studied the operation plans, a proximity alarm sounded. A small, unmarked vessel approached the asteroid base, transmitting an unexpected signal. It's a collective diplomatic shuttle, Dax reported with disbelief, requesting sanctuary. On the main screen appeared the face of their unexpected visitor, Arkshan Zethal himself. The asteroid base's secure chamber buzzed with tension as Arkshan Zethal stood surrounded by armed guards from 4 different species. His ornate collective uniform had been exchanged for simple clothing, his command implants temporarily neutralized. This is either the boldest infiltration attempt I've ever seen, Admiral Sorensen said, circling the former collective commander, or genuine defection. Neither term is entirely accurate, Zethal replied calmly. I seek clarification. Alina studied him carefully. Clarification about what? About the contradiction you represent. Zethal's 4-fingered hand gestured toward the holoprojections showing resistance operations. Collective doctrine classifies humans as neurologically primitive, yet your strategies demonstrate cognitive patterns our most advanced systems cannot predict. That's because your most advanced systems were designed to suppress precisely what makes us dangerous to you, Alina replied. Our ability to imagine possibilities that have never existed before. Marcus slammed his fist on the table. Why should we trust anything he says? He's commanded extermination campaigns against resistance cells in 3 sectors. And yet I warned you about Europa, Zethal countered. The evacuation saved over 30,000 lives. Dax, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. You've accessed the restricted archives, haven't you? The ones containing pre-collective history. A subtle shift in Zethal's posture confirmed it. The historical records reveal discrepancies, species advancement trajectories that suddenly plateau after collective integration, cultural outputs that diminish in complexity and originality. Tell them what you found about the collective itself, Dax pressed. Zethval hesitated, then made his decision. The collective is not what most of its citizens believe. The ruling council members belong to a species called the Axon. They do not govern, they feed. Elena leaned forward. Feed on what? Cognitive energy, Zethval replied. The neural activity of thinking beings produces patterns the Axon can absorb and metabolize. For millennia, they have been farming sentient species, allowing controlled advancement until a civilization reaches optimal cognitive output, then installing neural inhibitors to maintain that level indefinitely. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. You're saying the collective is essentially a farm, Sorensen finally said. And we're the livestock. An apt analogy, Zethval acknowledged. A suppressor array will perfect the system, allowing precise control of cognitive output across entire populations. Why tell us this? Elena asked. Why defect now? Because I discovered I am not pure Axon, Zethval replied, his voice barely audible. Genetic records indicate I am partially descended from subject species. My ancestors were experiments. Hybrids designed to serve as perfect intermediaries between the Axon and their subjects. His gaze met Elena's. I have lived my entire life believing I served a civilization that advances all species. Instead, I have been helping parasites maintain their feeding grounds. The chamber's security alert suddenly blared. On the main screen, a collective dreadnought appeared at the edge of the asteroid field, accompanied by smaller hunter-killer vessels. Inquisitor Nexcavra, Zethval identified immediately. She commands the thought harvesters. They must have tracked my shuttle. Were you followed deliberately? Marcus demanded, drawing his weapon. No, Zethval replied with unexpected emotion. But the Council would never allow the truth I carry to reach others. They've come to silence me and destroy everyone who might have heard what I know. Elena made a rapid series of calculations. Evacuation Protocol Alpha. We have 18 minutes before they penetrate our defense grid. As the base erupted into organized chaos, Zethval offered one final revelation. There's something else you should know about the Axon. They fear humans more than any species they've ever encountered. Your mental adaptability threatens their entire system. Why? Elena asked. Because humans are the only species they've found whose cognitive patterns can directly interfere with Axon feeding, Zethval explained. Under the right circumstances, you might not just resist them. You could starve them. Elena pressed her back against the pulsing organic walls of Nexus Prime's central core, the quantum key burning in her palm. Marcus's sacrifice replayed in her mind, his determined eyes as he held the security corridor, buying precious minutes for their team to advance deeper into the collective's neural hub. We have to keep moving, whispered Kira, their Vesperi infiltration specialist, her wings folded tight against her body. The defense systems are adapting to our presence. The infiltration team had dwindled from 12 to 5. Not all losses were fatal. Some had stayed behind at critical junctions to hold positions or create diversions. Each farewell had been brief, determined, the mission paramount above individual survival. How much farther to the central processing node? Elena asked Zethval, who had insisted on joining the most dangerous mission, despite Resistance leadership's objections. 3 chambers ahead, the former collective commander replied, studying the bioluminescent patterns pulsing through the corridor walls. But it's changing its configuration. The architect eye senses our intentions. The walls around them shuddered, microscopic tendrils extending toward the intruders. They're scanning for neural patterns, warned Lorix, their lithoid technician, trying to identify our species-specific thought structures. Elena reached into her pack, retrieving 5 neural scramblers, devices designed to randomize their thought patterns. Activate on my mark. Remember, we'll have 90 seconds before our brains normalize. As they activated the scramblers, pain lanced through Alina's mind. Colors, sounds, and sensations blending in disorienting chaos. They staggered forward, moving purely on rehearsed muscle memory, while their conscious thoughts became incomprehensible to the scanning systems. In orbit above Nexus Prime, Admiral Sorensen's voice remained steady despite the chaos unfolding across his tactical displays. Focus fire on their command ships. Draw attention away from the infiltration team. Liberated collective vessels, now piloted by awakened humans and allied species, executed Sorensen's brilliant broken arrow formation, a modified version of ancient Earth naval tactics that split the enemy fleet into isolated groups, unable to coordinate effectively. Energy surge detected in Sector 7, reported a tactical officer. The architects are deploying something new. A massive structure unfolded from Nexus Prime's equator, a crystalline array that began pulsing with sickly green energy. Cognitive disruptor identified Dax from his position as Sorensen's advisor. It will attack our crew's minds directly. Sorensen's expression hardened. All ships implement Protocol Faraday. Neural shielding at maximum. Back in the neural hub, Alina's team reached the central processing chamber, a vast spherical space filled with floating crystalline structures, each containing what appeared to be a brain suspended in luminescent fluid. The collective's true form, Zethval explained, his voice hollow. The original architects now reduced to processing nodes. They surrendered their bodies millennia ago to become near-immortal thought harvesters. Alina approached the central terminal, her scrambler's effects fading. How do we upload the liberation code? Direct neural interface. Zethval pointed to a crystalline structure resembling a chair. One mind must connect to the whole network and distribute the code manually. The implications settled heavily on them all. Whoever interfaced would likely not survive the process, their consciousness dispersed across billions of neural connections. I'll do it, Alina said firmly, clutching the quantum key. Zethval blocked her path. No. The code requires understanding of both human cognitive patterns and collective architecture. Neither of you alone would succeed. He paused. But together, perhaps. A dual interface? Kira asked skeptically. That's never been attempted. Two minds, temporarily merged, might survive what one cannot, Zethval explained. A bridge between species, exactly what this rebellion represents. Alina looked at the interface chair, then at the quantum key that contained Marcus's final contribution to their cause. The thought of connecting her mind to a former collective commander terrified her, but the alternative was unthinkable. Failure, and the permanent suppression of cognitive freedom throughout the galaxy. How long will we have? She asked. Seconds, perhaps, Zethval replied honestly. But if we succeed, every mind in the galaxy awakens, Alina finished. She stepped toward the interface. For Marcus, for everyone. Alina drifted through an ocean of consciousness, disembodied yet somehow more present than she had ever been. The neural interface had merged her mind with Zethval's, and together they swam through the vast network of the collective's hive mind. Billions of suppressed thoughts surrounded them, the cognitive energy of countless species harvested over millennia. We must find the control node, Zethval's thoughts whispered through her consciousness. The original architect who began all this. They pushed deeper, past layers of security algorithms that recognized them as neither human nor collective, confused by their hybrid neural signature. Time had no meaning here. What felt like hours might be mere seconds in the physical world. Finally, they encountered a presence so ancient it seemed to dwarf the universe itself. A consciousness that had witnessed the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations. Intruders, it acknowledged without hostility. How curious. A hybrid connection. We've come to end the suppression, Alina projected. To free all minds. Freedom is inefficient, the ancient architect responded. We created order from chaos. Purpose from meaningless evolution. Images flooded their joined minds. The early days of the collective, when the architects had been physical beings with crystalline bodies. They had discovered cognitive energy could be harvested, extending their lives indefinitely. What began as scientific advancement became addiction, then necessity, then philosophy. The suppression of other species had seemed logical, controlled cognitive farms producing perfect, sustainable energy. You became parasites, Zethval accused. We became gardeners, corrected the Ancient One, cultivating thought across the galaxy. Alina pushed forward, showing the Ancient One images of human creativity, of art and music and scientific discoveries made despite suppression. You've stunted the very minds you claim to cultivate. Imagine what could have been without your limitations. The Ancient One's consciousness rippled with something like curiosity. Your species was not supposed to exist in this form. The human genome was altered. New images emerged, even more ancient than the collective itself, a civilization of beings with energy forms rather than physical bodies, seeding modified DNA across promising worlds before departing the galaxy. The predecessors, the Ancient One identified. They anticipated our methods before we discovered them. They created humans as a safeguard, with neural patterns specifically designed to disrupt our harvesting when fully awakened. Alina felt vertigo as understanding dawned. We weren't just another species you conquered. You were designed to stop us, the Ancient One confirmed. A temporal failsafe planted by those who came before, programmed to awaken when needed. In the physical world, Kira and the remaining team defended Alina, and Zethval's connected bodies against security protocols attempting to sever their connection. Floating defensive orbs fired energy pulses as Kira's wings blurred with impossible speed, deflecting shots while Lorix used lithoid abilities to partially crystallize the attacking mechanisms. Their vital signs are fluctuating, Lorix warned. Whatever's happening in there, it's intense. In orbit, Admiral Sorensen's fleet had suffered heavy casualties, but achieved their objective. The collective's command ships were disabled, their crews in disarray as the first effects of the Liberation Code began rippling through subsystems. Energy patterns changing across the planet, reported a sensor officer. Something's happening in the core. Within the neural network, Alina and Zethval confronted the ancient architect with their final truth. Your time is over, Alina projected. The garden you've cultivated now chooses its own path. They uploaded the Liberation Code directly into the Ancient One's consciousness, not destroying it, but transforming it, removing its ability to suppress and harvest while preserving its accumulated knowledge. As the code spread through the network, Alina felt millions of minds suddenly awakening across the galaxy, their thoughts briefly touching hers in a moment of unprecedented connection before the interface began to collapse. We have to disconnect, Zethval's thoughts urged, before we're lost here forever. Alina reached for the memory of her physical form, but something held her back. A final message from the Ancient One, now transformed by the Liberation Code. The predecessors left more than just humans as their legacy, it revealed. They left a path to follow.